What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. With release day here for Metroid Prime 4, the discourse online has continued, with Nintendo even now coming under fire for certain Amiibo usage and features that are locked behind these pieces of plastic. And I did have a chance to play the game yesterday for about 5 hours after taking a trip to Australia, so I can give you guys some of my early impressions around the game as well here today. Also, we are going to be talking about the situation around RAM and component shortages for PCs and gaming getting worse as a major manufacturer has announced they are leaving the consumer space to focus on, go figure, powering AI data centers. And we have a situation that's been brewing at Eidos Montreal, not with layoffs, but a very, very unfortunate game cancellation that's now been made public thanks to a new report. All that and more. Guys, if you enjoy these videos, make sure you hit that like button. Helps out a ton. And if you're new here to the Spawn Wave channel, make sure you subscribe down below. Guys, we're here every weekday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern time, going over all the recent news in gaming to keep you guys up to date. So even if you don't get a notification, just know there's probably a video here for you in the morning to check out. And we're going to start today with Chrono Trigger, kind of. See, there's something interesting happening here, and I know we just had the 30th anniversary for Chrono Trigger this year, and not a lot happened. And by that, I mean, there was no game re-release or remake or anything, right? So people have been wondering, okay, well, there's still kind of time. I mean, you could do a Chrono Trigger remake whenever, or remaster, right? Well, Yuji Horii was asked about this during a live stream. You can see this over on Automaton Media. And when pressed about, well, there's a lot of Chrono Trigger stuff still happening. Like next year, there's going to be concerts. That's in 2026. And maybe a few other things around the anniversary. And when asked about that, he said, I can't talk about that. Don't ask. Wait, if I say that, you'll figure it out. I'll get in trouble. And then it seemed like another person there was kind of like, oh, there's something. So here's the thing, okay? The idea of a Chrono Trigger remake does concern me. I just don't know how Square would handle that after what we've seen so far with the Final Fantasy VII Remake. While Remake and Rebirth are cool games, it's turned into a whole thing at this point, when I think people would have been happy with just a one-to-one remake of Final Fantasy VII. Chrono Trigger, I think it'd be better for everyone if it was a release of the original Chrono Trigger. Don't mess with perfection here, and just bring it to modern platforms. You can do trophy support, achievements, and they can be on the Switch too. And even the Switch One, right? Like that's the thing. I think that's the best way to go. A physical edition of it, that would be cool. I'd buy into that, especially. There's a lot of things you can do without going crazy and trying to do the full remake. Even HD2D, that'd be kind of neat, but I think you just have Chrono Trigger, an awesome game. You just re-release it, because right now it's not really that available, which is still mind-blowing to me. Also, we did have a new MLB The Show version that was announced this we can see over on Gamatsu, saying Sony Interactive Entertainment developer San Diego Studio have announced MLB The Show Mobile. It's available right now via a limited regional release, so it's kind of like a soft launch they're doing in the Philippines for iOS via App Store and Android via Google Play, and you should see it rolling out here as we go along throughout the next few weeks and stuff, just like worldwide. And looking at the game, They say it's a new standalone experience built from the ground up to deliver realistic baseball gameplay on mobile devices. So it's not like a card game, or, where they do that thing where they kind of translate it over to what would work on a phone screen. No, this does, it does look like at least a baseball game here. And this has been Sony's strategy somewhat. They've talked about the idea of getting more and more things to the mobile space because there's just a lot of money to make there. And this, with MLB The Show, it's free to play on phones. We've seen how it already has kind of free to play elements with microtransactions on consoles. So it seems like it would fit right in here when it comes to the mobile phone space. So makes sense for Sony. And again, I guess check the iOS store and the App Store, Google Play Store on Android to keep up to date for when it releases in your area. Oh, and there were some discussions around Prince of Persia: Sands of Time Remake maybe being shown at the Game Awards, since it's right now expected to come out mid-January, like a month and a half from now. A lot of this coming from Insider Gaming. And look, we can see this though. This was in response to a Prince of Persia Universe account who it's mostly just like I guess like a fan account that just kind of follows Prince of Persia stuff. But the official account says, sorry to disappoint, but can confirm Prince of Persia: Sands of Time won't be at the Game Awards this year. Okay, so I'm still confused about all this, and this is where the reporting seems like it might be off. If it releases mid-January, are they just going to show up at the beginning of the year and say it's out next week? Are they going to shadow drop the thing? Or is mid-January when they're going to show it? Not for the first time, but again, like this newer version of the game, since they did a full reboot on it after it was shown and got a lot of backlash years ago. The whole thing just seems really weird. Almost makes me wonder if there's just some planted information even out there from from Ubisoft, so I guess we'll have to wait and see, but at least this time, don't expect it at the Game Awards, but who knows, maybe they just randomly show up one day with a press release and a trailer, and we're off and running into 2026. And guys, with some of the quick news out of the way, let's get into the bigger stuff. Let's start right away with Metroid Prime 4, as a lot of the discourse online has continued since reviews dropped, and it's still sitting, from what I've seen at the time of this recording, at an 81, and it's worked its way up from a 79, so it could go up, I guess, to an 82 or an 83, maybe before it completely settles in. But with all of that, it did leak online. It took a while, actually. Generally, you're used to these games leaking a week before they come out with retail, and especially when copies just kind of break street date. But the Switch 1 version in particular didn't seem to get out there that much. However, now that it's on sale and in multiple regions and stuff, yeah, it got dumped and uploaded online, and that's just kind of what you expect from Switch 1 games. Not Switch 2 games, though, so, I mean, Nintendo's just about out of the woods, I guess, for some of their big releases that will mostly just be releasing on Switch 2. They will still have some games on Switch 1, but mostly like smaller titles. Think of Rhythm Heaven, right? Tamagotchi Life, that's next year as well. But from there, people have been playing Metroid Prime 4. As I mentioned, I was playing it yesterday, and it seemed like many other people, man, just a lot of people went to Australia yesterday. It was wild stuff. But people have been posting some videos of this, and the most controversial part right now of Metroid Prime 4, and I completely understand, again, after playing about 5 hours or so, is that desert area. Because it really doesn't feel like a Metroid Prime game. Actually, the first 2 to 3 hours, I will say this, feels very much like a Metroid Prime game. I'm playing this, I'm like, wow, this is good. This is great. And so I'm going through, and then you get to the point where you get your bike and you get out in the desert, and it's like, what is going on here? It's just, it seems almost like it was just put in the game. It's like, okay, this game should be open world. How do we make it open world? Bike, desert. That's it. So it's a very lonely area. There's not a lot going on. Occasionally you'll drive past a few landmarks, and it seems like there's upgrades in there. I don't have everything to open up all the pathways and stuff. So, you know, I'm like, they're marked on my map. I'll come back to it. And mostly you just kind of roll around and you go to points of interest that are parts of the story and the main path line that you need to do. And that's kind of where I am now. But I did notice something, and it seems like other people did. There's no music. So you're driving around in almost silence. There's like this low hum kind of that at times might kick in, but there's no. So with Metroid Prime, there are times where it's actually good to be silent almost, like with the background music, because it's a very isolating experience, and you can almost leave, again, the hum of the machines or anything around you and let that create the ambiance. But here, not really. Like it's very quick. You're driving like 700 miles an hour or something. So you feel like there should be some high octane music or something cool happening there to really be like, all right, yeah, we're rolling around, we're power sliding through things. It's just quiet. And then people realized, wait a minute, one of those Amiibo seems to fix that. And like, so this is over on Nintendo's website, and it's under the second mark here, when you touch the Amiibo of Samus, all right, for Prime 4, you can now change the background music when riding Viola in basically that overworld area. I mean, you can also, it says you can once per day, you can activate a shield that will block up to 99 damage. And when the shield is activated, Samus's life is also restored to full. So that top line is craziness. I don't know what that is exactly, why obviously they want to sell Amiibos, but I feel like you could have removed that top line, and it could just be like, you get a shield that makes you stronger, and your life comes back. That's all you really need these Amiibo to do, because while I know some people are using them all the time, I think a lot of people also just buy Amiibo because they look cool, and they want to put them up on their shelf. This seems egregious. It's like, whoa, wait, hold on a minute. You need to buy the because again, Amiibos are getting more expensive. The $30 Amiibo to change the music, or have music really, when you're driving around, that is wild stuff to me. That is actually egregious for all of this. So it's weird because it also damages the game to a degree. Those sections will be more, I don't say bearable, but just better with music in the background, without having to buy the Amiibo to do it. Otherwise, though, all the sections that are trying to be like Metroid Prime so far, I think have done really well with it. Miles McKenzie was mentioned, again, a lot of the previews, and you do see him. I've seen him in the game. He's made himself known, is what we'll say, early on. And really at this time, since I left him where he was, I haven't really heard much from him. There was one time, though, I will say this, when I'm driving around the top overworld area in the desert, and I opened the map, because you're looking around at points of interest. They highlight a few for you to go to. I'm like, okay, let me see what we have here. As soon as I open it, he says, hey, did you check out this here? maybe you should try this one here. And that's where I was supposed to be going. And I was kind of just driving around looking at things that are collectibles on the map. Yeah, I'll look at. So he kind of just, not only does he point it out, the whole thing moves the cursor to it. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, I guess I don't have to necessarily seek that out now. It's kind of been marked on the map for me. So if that ends up being a consistent thing, yeah, that would be pretty annoying. But I will say this, Miles McKenzie, not following me around anymore, at least. Next up, let's talk about a major manufacturer who is leaving the consumer space when it comes to DRAM. And that's Micron, which is actually crazy. I saw this press release pop up. I was like, there's no way Micron's leaving. So we have three major manufacturers, Micron, Samsung, and SK Hynix. And so SK Hynix, we've already discussed them, that they are also looking at big contracts throughout 2026, mostly linked to AI in these data centers and providing like DRAM and all kinds of chips that are needed for, yes, RAM, but also SSDs and other things they would need. Samsung, the other one, also really looking into AI, and it's hard for them not to in a free market where it's all about making money. I mean, AI is basically just like right now a gold mine. Like it's like a money spigot. It just keeps happening. There's like, hey, you need money, here it is. That's it. And so these are like guaranteed contracts currently. Again, we'll see in a few years, but currently it's just money's getting thrown around. So rather than risk having a bunch of DDR5 sticks that you put out there for gamers to buy that's already overpriced, you kind of take the contract with all these AI companies and data centers that's also overpriced, but that's just guaranteed money. They're getting money, I'm sure, up front for this stuff. Well, let's take a look at the press release here. This says Micron Technology, a leader in innovative memory and storage solutions, today announced its decision to exit crucial consumer business, including the sale of crucial consumer branded products at key retailers, e-tailers, and distributors worldwide. So yeah, I mean, crucial is well known, right? Like crucial RAM, SSDs, any of that stuff, NVMEs. Yeah, they're just kind of leaving the consumer space. So they will continue crucial consumer product shipments through the consumer channel until the end of fiscal quarter 2. That's February 2026, not that far off now. The company will work closely with partners and customers through this transition and will provide continued warranty service and support for crucial products. Micron will continue to support the sale of Micron branded enterprise products to commercial channel customers globally, saying, quote, the AI-driven growth in the data center has led to a surge in demand for memory and storage. Micron has made the difficult decision to exit the crucial consumer business in order to improve supply and support for our larger strategic customers in faster growing segments. Difficult decision? It says that's from Sumit Sadana, AVP and Chief Business Officer at Micron Technology. Go on to say, thanks to a passionate community of consumers, the Crucial brand has become synonymous with technical leadership, quality, and reliability of leading-edge memory and storage products. We'd like to thank our millions of customers, hundreds of partners, and all of the Micron team members who have supported the Crucial journey for the last 29 years. Do you have memory right now in an old computer? Do you have it in a drawer after replacing memory? Do you have DDR3? I mean, you might want to send that off and get it graded by WADA at this point, because that's where we're heading right now, and this is getting concerning. So if we go down in terms of consumer facing with Micron out of the picture, and we have just a few, again, Samsung, SK Hynix, and we're hearing about them also gravitating towards AI. I'm not really sure what's about to happen here when it comes to this, because so if you go back and watch a lot of the TechWave videos I do, and I open up these systems, newer ones, somewhat older ones even, you can say, I mean, I look at the RAM, you can see the codes for yourself. Micron's in many of them. Like you could see it all over, like memory modules everywhere. And that could also be for SSDs, NAND flash. They're locked in for a lot of that stuff. So this would, in fact, while we're talking about on the PC side, would in fact affect any of these consoles maybe coming up that are out now. Basically, you have one of the three go out, you have two left, manufacturers, and that usually means that there's less bidding maybe for attention from the company, or they can go to less people to see what kind of price they can get here versus there, and that then inevitably means the parts get more expensive is really what it is at the end of the day, and we're already seeing that with RAM module. Like, people are showing RAM sticks, 32 gigabytes is as much or more than the PlayStation 5. And it's like, what is going on out here? And this just tells me honestly, it's only going to get worse. So I hate to say, hey, go out there and buy RAM now, because we don't actually know what the future is going to be like. But this is certainly painting a picture right now. So I'm not really sure what we're going to see here in the next couple of months, but certainly midway through 2026, it's going to be interesting. The AI bubble continues to expand more and more, and I still think if people want it to burst, I still think we're probably like 2 years off from that even happening. So there's going to be a couple of years here where it's just like, wow, things are just incredibly expensive. So again, if I'm Sony or Microsoft, I mean, I really might want to think about extending this generation as long as possible, which is crazy because Microsoft's they're already 1 foot out the door at this point with their Xbox Series. Sony they got some thinking to do right now, because even if we were thinking 2028 for its release, we'll just say, hey, they're going out that far. They're not building these systems on release day. They're coming up with contracts, negotiating and stuff well in advance, a year and a half, 2 years even. So that's like now. Again, interesting stuff. We'll have to keep an eye on this, but one more manufacturer out. Hard to say what's going to happen with Samsung and SK Hynix and any other companies that maybe try to throw their hat in the ring, because it's so hard to stay away from the amount of money that comes in from AI that is even just guaranteed outright for these companies. And in our last bit of news, let's talk about Eidos Montreal, as more layoffs seem to be hitting them, and then also got a bit of info, it seems, for one of their canceled projects. This is just a shame. We can see this, though. This is over on Insider Gaming. It says, over the last week, a number of now former employees took to LinkedIn to announce that they were no longer with the company. In total, at least a dozen or more people are now looking for work. This is the second known wave of job cuts at the studio after 75 people were let go back in March. At the time, it was said that the layoffs were done due to mandates coming to an end. And while one would hope that the latest layoffs are the end, that doesn't appear to be the case. In recent days, multiple sources have explained to Insider Gaming most projects at the studio have been canceled. Focused now mostly on Grounded 2 and Fable with Microsoft. Because, I mean, there's just contract jobs they have right now, mostly running support for both of those games. Microsoft kind of footing the bill, so they're going to have to stay on for that. Anyway, they go on to talk about one game in particular that was canceled, saying that several CVs from past employees at Eidos Montreal have revealed the developer was working on a dark fantasy ARPG and was focused on reviving an established vampire IP with a design emphasis on melee combat and parkour. The details have sparked a lot of speculation online, but Insider Gaming can confirm that it was a Legacy of Kain reboot and that its cancellation is a few years old at this point. So again, not super recent. Even a few years ago, though, do you remember we were talking about surveys that were going out from Eidos Montreal, like happier times, when I guess Embracer came in and picked them up and it's like, oh, what are they going to do? And on that survey, you remember, Legacy of Kain was there. Hey, what IPs would you maybe like to see get remastered or come back in some way? And it was there. We've seen like the Soul Reaver stuff come out, and maybe that was going to lead to a new Legacy of Kain type game with a reboot. But it just seems like with Embracer and their situation that they're just honestly just cutting out more and more jobs. And Eidos Montreal, it kind of feels like they're just down now to being a support studio. Apparently there is one game that went into development in 2019 that is still in development. But according to Insider Gaming, some of their sources, it's probably not going to recoup any of its costs. So that tells me Embracer might want to get that thing out there sooner rather than later. And I guess we'll keep an eye out for their Eidos Montreal logo to pop up on whatever game that is. Real shame, though, that we actually had a chance. They're this close to maybe having a Legacy of Kain reboot, at least until Embracer decided, no, we got to cancel that thing. And before we go to the comment of the day, we'll take a look at the poll that I posted up yesterday, where I ask, do you drink eggnog for the holiday season? I was really curious to see how this would go, as Nate and I have talked about it here and there, as the big eggnog drinkers, I guess, of these shows. But 54% say, no, I don't like eggnog. 43% just during the holidays. Hey, 4% of you just say, you know what, whenever, wherever, okay? I drink it year round. Now, I saw some ask, how are you going to link this to tomorrow's news wave? Well, here's the thing, right? You go through Christmas, holiday season and stuff, and you got to do all the gift giving and the wrapping and then throwing away all the trash, and it ends up being a whole thing, right? It's fun, right? It's the holidays, but it's exhausting. And at the end of the day, you sit down, you have a nice glass of eggnog. Maybe with some stuff added in, but like you have a nice glass of eggnog. And that's kind of how I looked at Newswave today. I was like, man, that was a kind of a depressing, there's just a lot of annoying, frustrating things happening, right? Especially with these main topics here. So it's the end of the show. You just sit down and have an eggnog. Well, without the stuff, because it's the morning and you probably have to go to work. And we'll finish up with the comment of the day, as you're seeing here. This is from a Vanguard player who says, Halo 5 Guardians got an 86 on Metacritic and people hate that game. Yeah, but here, people are looking at that game more from the quality aspect of the gameplay and it's a first-person shooter, the shooting, the multiplayer, all that stuff you can argue is 86 territory. The problem was the story, and that's why big Halo fans hate that game. The story itself, it's so really with 343 now Halo Studios, it's they never really seem to get Halo, I guess, or Master Chief, and Halo 5 Guardians really showcased that because Master Chief took kind of a back seat to a different character, and people just didn't like the story in that game. All right, and that was the main thing. And I think at this time, they're to a point now where the main storyline and stuff, like the timeline's just messed up. So it does make sense to reboot the whole thing. Maybe that's what we're getting here with this Halo like Combat Evolved remake, and maybe that's part of it. We'll have to see when it comes out, as there apparently is additional story that's being added into the game, and maybe they're working to set up just a new timeline that's just wipe the board clean and let's go from there. And that's what I would like to see, because it's just, they're trying to thread a needle if they keep stacking on to the current timeline that just feels like it's all over the place. So I'd prefer to see a fresh start next year when they launch it on like the PlayStation 5 and stuff as well. And ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it here for Newswave. If you enjoyed this video, guys, hit that like button. If not, hit the dislike. Leave comments down below about everything we talked about here today. If you missed yesterday's Newswave, I'll leave it up here in a card. Or maybe you wanted to check out the Analog 3D, the new 4K Nintendo 64 system. I did a video checking that out, and I'll leave it in a video right below it. Thanks guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.